Hi, welcome everybody to another session of Speakers Live with Summit Speaker Bureau. It's great to have all of you joining us today. If you happen to be joining us with us live right now, type in hashtag live in the comments section. Or if you happen to be watching on replay, type in hashtag replay. Today, my guest will be Teacher Kean. He is a corporate leadership expert and he is also a certified headmaster. But not only that, I just found out recently that he is a barrister at law as well. But most importantly, he is the father of two beautiful sons. Yeah, so today we will be discussing with Teacher Kian exactly how is it that we can retain our best talents? How is it that we don't waste all of our resources, all of our time being invested in bringing up talent only to have them up and leave away. So without further ado, let's give a warm round of applause to Teacher Kian.
Oh my goodness, Ching Yu, how are you, my friend? It's so good to be back here with you.
Yes, great to be with you too, Teacher Kian, and you just joined us in the nick of time.
Definitely, yep, had a bit of technical issues there, but don't worry, it's all sorted out now. How are you, my friend? And how is everyone in the audience?
Wow, I'm doing good. Yeah, we've been just really busy with all our back-to-back events, and then I see that you've been very busy as well with all of your trainings. Yeah, how has the lockdowns been? And then as you enter into the real world, I see you're doing live trainings already.
Yes, absolutely. And I must say that yes, I think most trainers will agree with me that it's definitely very, very good to be doing face-to-face trainings again. And yeah, we've been really, really busy. I've been running around Kuala Lumpur and sometimes out of state as well to go and deliver our corporate trainings. Yep. So definitely very good to be training face to face and facilitating sessions face to face again, my friend.
Good to know. Good to know. And it's always great to hear you, and you always bring a wonderful smile to the audience. So, share with us. When it comes to corporations nowadays, we always hear about the struggle of retaining talent. What do you see is the biggest thing that is stopping corporations from maintaining their key talents, and how do you go about it?
All right, Chinyu, I think that this is a fantastic question. So, for any members of the audience here who are in corporations, I think that this would be a great time to go and bring up pen and paper because some of the things we'll be discussing today, some of the things we'll be sharing today will be absolutely invaluable to you. All right, so now, first things first, we have to understand that most people, most leaders of organizations, they actually misunderstand. They misunderstand why do their talent leave. So now, Chinyu, let's have a talk about this. Yeah, how do most organizations gauge why do their talent leave? How
Hmm.
do they know what are the reasons their talents are leaving?
Yeah, well, usually they'd either be just guessing or saying, "Oh, they probably found a greener pastures somewhere else."
Yep. So as it turns out, all right, most of us, right, most organization leaders, they actually gauge why do their talent leave from exit interviews.
Yeah.
Yep. And unfortunately, right, research shows that exit interviews, well, candidates are not always the most honest during exit interviews, yeah, because they might want to have this concept where they might want to go and maintain the relationship with their ex-employers. So often you will find them not being entirely honest as to the reasons why they leave. Now, commonly they're going to give reasons such as, okay, someone else is offering better opportunities or better benefits or better salaries, but you'll find that those are not really the real reasons why people leave. Now, if we were to take a look at the real data, if we were to take a look at some meta studies, we will quickly realize that some of these traditional reasons, traditionally often quoted reasons why people leave, are not that true after all. But of course, there are some common beliefs which are definitely true. For example, data suggests that people absolutely leave bosses. They do not leave companies, they leave bosses. So that one is definitely true. Right. Um, Pay is not as important as we thought, actually, Xing Yu. Yeah, pay is not as important as we thought.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so they leave bosses. So what are the key characteristics, or rather, I think nowadays people would say, what are the toxic characteristics that would repel key talent away?
All right. So, toxic characteristics which repel key talent away would be all right. So now let's. It's not so much okay. Come, let's clear up some misconceptions. It's not necessarily a negative It's not necessarily negative communication from the part of the bosses. It most of the time you'll realize that it is because there's a misalignment of expectations between the talent and their bosses. I'll give you a great example. Yeah, I'll give you a great example, and this is an example I love. I love to go and run with my participants. Now, Ching Yu, we are roughly the same age. Yeah, all right. Now, do you remember what we had to do if we wanted to go and watch a movie at the cinema? What do we have to do back then when we were kids?
Oh, back then when we were kids, what do we have to do? I don't know. Queue up, uh, buy a ticket. You know, you don't have all these digital contraptions nowadays to book online, right?
Ching Yu, I'm going to scold you. I'm going to scold you over here. You have forgotten. My friend, we had to go and take out a newspaper and we had to flip to the last page to go and check out the showtime section, my friend.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we had to go and do this a minimum of 2 weeks before the day we wanted to watch a movie, right? We had to go and check out which cinema the movie would be playing at. We had to go and check out which mall, right, to go to. We had to go and tell our parents way ahead of time. We had to go and think of transportation. We had to go and plan it with our friends. Are we having dinner at home? Are we having dinner at the mall? Are we staying over at our friend's place? Are we going home? Now, just to watch a movie, there was an inordinate amount of planning involved. Now, let's contrast it to younger workers nowadays. Yeah, if a child or if a teenager or if a young adult wanted to watch a movie today, what would they do? Absolutely, they would just get on their favorite streaming service, and they would go and stream the movie immediately. Right now, Ching Yu, right? We live in an era of instant gratification. Essentially, what we want, we expect to get it straight away. Another very good example which I always run with my participants is this, yeah. If we wanted to read a book when we were younger, what would we do if we wanted to read a book?
Oh, if we wanted to read a book, we'd either have to go to a library, go to a bookstore, or maybe, yeah, if we are younger, we even have to ask our parents, "Hey, can we go to the
Absolutely.
bookstore?" Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, Xing Yu, right? We have to ask our parents, we have to go to the library, or we have to go and save money to go and buy a book. Now, let me ask you, yeah, if people wanted to read a book nowadays, especially people from the younger generation, right, or teenagers or young adults, and now what would they do?
Or they would probably just go online. If they don't have access to their parents' credit card, they may even go and pirate some of those books.
My friend, I wish that were the case. As an educator, the educator and me wish that were the case. That they would actually download a PDF or buy the PDF and read it. That's not what is happening, my friend. If most people, if they wanted to read a book, they would go to Wikipedia, take a look at the plot summary, and tell you that they read the book. Or
Wow.
they would go to YouTube and go and listen to a 2 minute summary of the book, and they tell you that they have mastered the book. So we are really, really living in an era of instant gratification, and the way we are absorbing information is so vastly different from working generations in the generations prior. So nowadays, we receive information at the touch of our fingertips. And more worse than that, let's come back to movies and shows here, all right? When we were kids and we were watching the 7 p.m. Show with our parents on the TV set, and if we didn't like the show, what choice did we have? We still had to go and sit through the entire show, and we had to learn to accept it. Nowadays, right? If a child or if a teenager watched a show, were introduced to a new show, and they didn't like it, within the first 2 to 3 minutes, they would jump to another show, right? And I'll be entirely fair, it is not just for teenagers and young adults. Even me and you, we have this tendency to jump to conclusions and to go and seek out something else we like because we are nowadays spoiled for choice. The fact is we are absorbing information in very, very different ways, and most employees need to understand this. So now here's another question, and you'll see the point which I'm coming to very, very soon. Now, Ching Yu, when we were working in corporate earlier on, how often do we get a performance review? How often do we get feedback from our bosses?
Oh, I think it really depends on the organization, but I would suppose like you get a monthly review.
Yep.
So
We,
yep.
maybe a monthly review. Now, when I was in investment banking quite a number of years ago, I would get a review once a year, and I would get it in the form of a bonus or an increment or promotion. And that's how I knew whether or not I was doing well in my work. Now, can you imagine someone who is so used to getting information like that? Whenever they want it, they get feedback straight away. Whenever they want it, they get information straight away, needing to wait 1 year for that feedback. So here is the first misconception we absolutely have to clear. It is not that younger workers cannot take, they can absolutely take feedback. It's not that they cannot take feedback. It is not that they are easily bruised. It is not that they are very sheltered or protected. It's not that at all. You will realize that millennials are absolutely one of the most hardy and resilient generations there are. It's just that they are not getting this feedback quickly or consistently enough. This is why many organizations around the world, especially the top-notch organizations, are having or they are implementing a more continuous feedback type of systems in their organizations. It's not that younger generations cannot take feedback. They can. They're more resilient than most of us give them credit for. It's just that they're not getting it as consistently or as quickly as they'd like. Now, how does this translate into something which is applicable and practicable straight away? Basically, if if your younger teammates, or if your talent, your desirable talent, did a good job, tell them as soon as possible. If they didn't do a good job, tell them what areas they have to improve as soon as possible. That's it. Right, so that is one of the key things which leaders can improve straight away to go and see better employee loyalty. Yep, so that's one of the things we can do.
Okay, so it's all about that instantaneous feedback. And sometimes you see that within organizations or leaders, you get the feeling from the leaders is like they think, oh, why should I need to give you that feedback or acknowledgement? You're professional. You should know it yourself. You should know what to do yourself. You should have that autonomy and initiative. What are your thoughts about this kind of thinking?
Well, Ching Yu, I think that they may have to go and consider the cost of replacing people who leave, because the cost of replacing people who leave. Let's talk about the numbers here. Then we'll talk about the soft factors. It's horrible because it's much worse than we thought. Because for most organizations, for the average organization, the cost of replacing, interviewing, retraining a person who has left is around 12% of the profit before tax of most companies. So now what does this mean? This means that if a company is making a 10% profit before tax, they can nearly double, or in most cases more than double, their profit if they just manage to retain their talent better. Now, another very eye-opening statistic is that the cost of retraining, rehiring, interviewing again, and sometimes you get a professional to go and hire to locate talent for you. All of this costs will often exceed 100% of that talent's annual salary. So now let's say, all right, let's say a talent is making 5,000 USD a month, and this would equate to around 60,000 USD a year. To replace that person, it will often cost easily more than 60,000. Why? Right? Because you need to go and spend time to go and write the ad. You need to go and put up the ad. You need to go and spend a lot of time interviewing. The entire hiring process is very expensive. To retrain this person to the level of which he or she originally was, yes, it's very tedious and it's very, very time consuming. So that is just the money factor of it, yeah. Let's not even talk about the knowledge transfer to your competitors, the loss of revenue when this person is not around, the demotivating factor because the other teammates will have to go and pick up the extra work while we are looking for this replacement. Yeah. And of course, if this person was a seasoned veteran in your company, right, the loss of mentorship, the loss of succession opportunities. Yeah. So, to go and keep desirable talent in your team is really doing yourself a favor in the long run. You do not want to go and spend energy looking for a replacement if this is a desirable talent which is good for you. Yeah, you really do not want to go and waste more time, waste more money looking for someone else.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've highlighted a lot of factors that is very easy to overlook, other than the financial factors, right? It's because an organization is an ecosystem; everything is intertwined with one another. So I do see like Karen Allen, who was from the US. She's sharing with us, peace of mind is more important than dealing with a toxic boss, right? On our previous conversation. And then trader Rob shares that one of his biggest challenges is that, a quit before you get fired mentality, is the reason for his biggest turnover rate. What are your thoughts about that? With employees or team members who have that sort of mentality. Oh, I feel the pressure coming down on me. I'm unable to hit my targets. I think I better just quit.
Yep. So now Trader Rob over here is echoing exactly what I meant. Now let's stand in the shoes of, let's say, a millennial. All right. I'm just using millennial as an example, but actually applies to many different types of people, different cross sections of employees. Yeah. All right. So now let's imagine we are standing in the shoes of an employee and we did something which was not very good in the workplace. Let's say we annoyed a customer or we upset a customer. Together with our boss, we solve the problem. And from the boss's point of view, the problem has been solved, everything has been settled. The boss goes about his usual day, business as usual. But from the millennials' point of view, or from the young workers' point of view, they are wondering, hey, why isn't my boss saying anything to me? I did something bad, or I did something undesirable, or I did something wrong. Why isn't boss yelling at me, or why isn't boss giving feedback to me? Why am I not facing the consequences of my actions? And because all of us, we are bombarded by information, the way we absorb information is drastically different from previous generations. They go into a negative feedback loop where they will start to overthink and where they will start to wonder, why isn't boss saying anything? And that's where you have said it absolutely right. I can't stand this pressure. Boss must hate me. I better quit before I get fired. That's where it comes from. Overthinking because they have not been getting consistent feedback. On their terms, yeah, on their terms. From the boss's point of view, everything is settled, yeah. Everything is fine and dandy. We have fixed the problem. Let's move on and let's continue to go and make revenue for the company. But from the employee's point of view, that's not how they see it.
Wow, a lot of dimensions to consider, and really being empathetic from where they are coming at and their considerations. So we've gotten a question from Trader Rob. He asked, how would I provide immediate feedback and not drain my resources? I'm already doing daily reports and confidence is still low after a year of employment.
All right. So now, thank you, Trader Rob, for this question. I think that this is a great question, yeah. And of course, if you have a pen and paper, then this might be a good chance for you to go and for everyone in the audience to go and perhaps list down some of the things we are sharing and discussing over here. All right. So now, how do you provide immediate feedback and not drain my resources? Already doing daily reports. So now the question over here would be, who are you making the reports to, Trader Rob? Are you making it to human resources or to your superiors, or are you speaking to the person who actually um who actually needs the feedback, right? Are you reporting upwards or are you reporting downwards? Now, so that's for the reports part, yeah. If you are giving reports upwards, if you are reporting to your superiors instead of your employees, then yes, your employees may still feel that the feedback is coming too slow, right? It does not need to be a formal feedback all the time. Sometimes a coffee chat would be sufficient. For example, if the both of you settled a problem or overcome a challenge, right? Then sitting down with them and telling them, hey, you did good. Please continue XYZ. That's very helpful. Or, okay, now I think that you can go and improve on ABC. I can't wait to see what a better presenter you are, or what a better how much of a better customer service representative you would be, or how much of a better salesman you could be if you could go and improve on ABC. So you can have a form. You does not need to be formal feedback. It can be informal feedback a lot of the time. Now let's talk about confidence. Now, I believe that there is no one best method or one best style of leadership. I believe in something called situational leadership. And depending on why the confidence is low, you will have to go and use the correct tool to go and address why is confidence still low. Now, people have low confidence for a wide variety of reasons. Sometimes they made a previous mistake, or they may have encountered a failure, and because of this their confidence is shaken. For some other people, it might be because they originally had high spirits, but they were beaten down by the superiors, or perhaps they were beaten down by a customer, or perhaps they originally were very enthusiastic to go and learn a task, but then they quickly found out that it is much harder than they expected. It was much harder than they expected, and therefore their confidence took a blow. Now, depending on why their confidence is low, you will have to go and use different methods to motivate them. However, having said that, one tool which is universally powerful is something which Ching Yu is really, really good at, and that is active listening and being empathetic to people. Right? Research definitely shows that if leaders have active listening, if they use empathy well, and if they can give a good space, if they can provide a safe and good space for their employees to make mistakes and grow, then you can definitely motivate and instill confidence in your employees for the sustainable long term. Yeah. Mm.
Oh,
So I hope that answers the question.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and I like what you mentioned. It's all about being situational, being able to adapt to the situation to see what's required in the moment, right? And to have that sensitivity. Do you think that sensitivity can be trained, through a training, or does it really need to be built up through experience?
All right. So the answer is, all right, sensitivity is actually a skill. And a skill definitely means that it is something which can be practiced, which can be improved, which can be grown. Yeah, so absolutely, sensitivity and empathetic listening, active listening, these are all skills. There are methods, there are techniques which you can use to definitely improve yourself as a listener. So definitely, these are skills which can be improved. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so just checking the comments, we have Jeevan Jot who said, at times we are just not suited for the job. And then he said, he worked in as a trainee aviation tech, but he found out that he was just not suited for the job due to him making big mistakes that damages the parts. That time he realized he's just not suited for the job and actually realized he wanted more, a better future for himself.
Yep. So I do have a comment over here, Ching Yu. So now we have not discussed this yet, but actually one of the biggest reasons why organizations lose desirable talent, especially people who leave within 1 year, and we're seeing a lot of that, especially in the context of Asia. You will see that many new hires are joining a company and leaving within 1 year. So now, if your organization has this issue, then definitely, well, listen very closely, because this is going to be extremely valuable for all of us here. There are a lot of learning points over here. So now, for example, I was speaking to a fellow trainer who was leading one of Malaysia's largest water purifier companies. Yeah, they were an international water purifier. They sell a lot of home appliances as well. And what she noticed was that new hires were they often showed up on the first day, but by the end of the first month, maybe only 20% were left. And so we're talking about 80% attrition rate or departure rate within the first month. And this was very, very shocking because this company was a great company. So it's not necessarily on the part of the company. Sometimes it is just the people who have joined the company. So now, when we look at the data and when we look at the evidence, the single biggest reason why people leave a company within the first year is because the job description does not match the day-to-day activities which the new hire is expected to perform. For example, if the job description, if the job description during the advertisement for that position, or during a job interview, or during a job preview, promises A, B, C, but when the new hires come in and they start working and they realize that they're not just doing A, B, C, they're also expected to go and pick up a lot of ad hoc tasks and they end up doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. This, as it turns out, is deeply upsetting for a lot of people. If your organization cannot retain talent, desirable talent, for more than 1 year, this is the number one low hanging fruit which we have to change together. That is to go and write more accurate job descriptions.
Mm,
This is
mm.
definitely something we can change straight away.
Yeah, so definitely it's about managing expectations in their minds, and then I suppose there are some organization who wants to be dodgy about it so that they can squeeze out as much value as they can from their hirees, and then in the end it just backfires on them.
Yes, correct. Or over promising, or over promising in the job description or in the advertisement. Yeah, so you can't do that because when you entice people to join your organization, there are expectations, and alignment of those expectations are absolutely essential, right? People join an organization because they hope to go and develop themselves in certain areas. I want to be better in ABC, but if they end up doing D, E, F, G, H, I, J a lot, and if they realize that they're bailing out other team members to cover for other team members' weaknesses or shortcomings, for example, it as it turns out, this is deeply upsetting for a lot of people. So then
Mm.
they will leave before the year is up.
Yeah. Okay, so going back on active listening, yeah, Karen agrees with you on the active listening part, and then Trader Rob shares, actually that helps a lot. He knows he has communication weaknesses that he's working on, and then he mentions that he's having his employees make progress reports themselves, and the concept behind it is having them acknowledge the growth one on one with him. What are your thoughts about this?
Wow, Trader Rob, I absolutely applaud you for this. I love this very, very much because, right, first things first, critical thinking, right? Instead of giving your employees feedback directly, right, do ask them what areas of growth do you think you want to embark on? What do you think you could have done better in this situation? What do you think you would have what can you do to go and make the customer have a better experience next time around? So now, just by asking these questions, then you are coaching your employee instead of giving them the answers outright. This will train them to have an engineering mindset. So then they will start to go and solve problems by themselves more independently in the future. So definitely that is something which I really, really applaud. Now, yes, the second part of this sentence is something I definitely love as well. The concept behind it is having them acknowledge your growth one on one with me. Now, this is very, very powerful because why? Okay, now, Ching Yu, one of the best gifts, one of the greatest presents, one of the best gifts we can give anyone in our lives, right? Whether it is our friends, our family, or employees, is proof, is evidence that they have improved. I'll give you an example. Yeah, let's imagine that we have a colleague. Her name is Jane, for example, and Jane is crying, right? Because she poured her heart out, did the research, and gave a presentation to a potential client, but she still failed to secure the deal. And she is a bit emotional, and it is totally understandable. Now, how would a typical leader comfort Jane in this situation? What would the leader say in this situation?
Perhaps the leader would say, "Oh, it's okay. Don't cry."
It's okay, don't cry. Now, Cheng Yu, let me ask you, yeah, if someone said that to you, how would you feel? Does that actually help you feel better?
No, no.
No, it doesn't. Right? It doesn't help you feel better because those words sound a bit hollow. Do you know what really works? What really works is giving people evidence of how much they have improved. I'll give you an example. You can go and tell Jane, Jane, my goodness, 1 year ago you didn't even dare to stand in front of the room. Look at yourself today. You made that entire presentation and it was excellent, right? It was a good product. It's just that the client didn't need this product at this moment of time. Now, can you improve? Of course, all of us have areas of improvement. And once you identify those, I can't wait to see how great a presenter you will be next year. Now, that is comforting because she then remembers 1 year ago, I was an absolute mess when it came to presentation and public speaking. And yes, I've grown so much in this 1 year. Right? So now what Trader Rob said about acknowledging their growth one to one, that is absolutely fantastic. We have to go and learn from Trader Rob over here.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah, I like how you broke it down into essentially three parts: acknowledging the growth that they have come so far, reminding them of where they were in the past, and then at the same time leaving room to give that feedback. Yes, there's room for improvement, as does everybody do, but at the same time you include that future pacing aspect, bringing them into the possibilities of what more they can be. So very, very powerful. And I see Trader Rob, agreeing as well. Is creating that engineering mindset for that hashtag breakthrough moment in their lives, right? And so right now what we see as especially with what happened with the lockdowns, people are forced online, and then organizations are embracing online, like remote work as well. So that also opens up the borders of international companies poaching local talent, right? So how can local companies maintain that competitive edge over international competitors?
Wow, Ching Yu, I think that this is a great question. And over here, it's a great time to go and talk about the number one reason why people actually leave. The number one reason why people actually leave, we have not discussed. We've talked about bosses, we've talked about um, more accurate job descriptions, and those are some of the things we can do. We've talked about lack of a clear development and career path, right? But we have not talked about the number one reason. The number one reason why people actually leave is because if they do not feel any commitment to an organization. If they do not feel any commitment to an organization, people are bound to leave. Okay, so now, for example, all right, if we turn and take a look at the typical mission and vision statement of most companies, yeah, um, let's take a look at one which I came across the other day. Their vision was to go and have their furniture company. Yeah, so their vision was to have one of their furniture products in every Asian household by 2025. Now, this is of course a very worthy vision on an organizational level. But let me ask you, Ching Yu, as an employee, would you be inspired to stay?
I will probably be thinking, so what?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, yes. So what? It means a lot to you. It means a lot to the founders. It means a lot to the shareholders. But for an individual level, I fail to see how will this bring any meaning or purpose into my life. Now, there's a book which I believe is mandatory reading, and that is of course Simon Sinek's Start with Why. Start with Why. If you do not have time to see the book, right, to read the book, then I heavily recommend that you check out his TED Talk on YouTube. Right, a very very inspirational and a transformational video which everyone should absolutely watch. Start with Why. Now, in that video, he talks about companies like Apple, like Harley Davidson, where their employees will never leave even if they are given a substantial pay raise by a competitor. For example, an Apple engineer would really be hard pressed to go and consider moving to Microsoft even if they were given a substantial pay raise. Why? It is because Apple has already established itself to be to be an innovator, to lead the cutting edge. And employees in Apple will always feel that kinship with Apple. It is because not just their consumer branding, but their employee branding is very, very strong. Their why is very strong. Their beliefs are very strong. And it is a belief which resonates both with the consumers as well as their employees. So now, on the other hand, Microsoft is a great company, right? It's a great place to work at, but somehow Apple employees do not feel any kinship to that message. So they would rarely leave. So it's the same over here. If a foreign organization is perhaps eyeing your employees, you don't need to worry if your organization has a very clear message, has a very strong message, and that will go and give the employees, your employees, a lot of core purpose and meaning. Now, coming back to that same example, yeah, all right. Let's say we are talking about a furniture company, and the furniture company vision and mission is to go and have one piece of furniture in every Asian household by 2024. Now, we could easily reword it, we could easily reframe it by saying something like giving every Asian family a peace of mind and a safe and secure environment to relax in after a tough day of work. And if you can really communicate this to every level of your employees, you tell them you are a carpenter, but you are not just making a piece of furniture, you are a part of a network or an organization which gives safety and security and peace of mind to millions of users all across Southeast Asia. You might be a stock taker, you might be a warehouse manager, but you are absolutely essential in delivering this sense of security and this sense of well being to millions of users all around Asia. We cannot lose you. We need you with us. Now, that is going to go a very, very long way towards inspiring and motivating your employees to stay on with you.
Wow. That was very heartfelt. I feel like working for this furniture company already.
Yeah.
But
So,
wonderful. That's a great example. And it's really getting into the core of the heart of an organization. And as you mentioned, do check out Simon Sinek's why behind all of this. And so I see that Trader Rob is shooting a lot more questions to us. He's asking, would you recommend a third party human resources or internal management?
all right. So now, third party human resources, all right, we call them human resource partners, are very, very good, especially when it comes to human resource strategy, right? They tend to have a lot of experience. They tend to have a lot of data from their other clients or from industry intelligence. And if you have a targeted project, then they are definitely very, very good and should consider. However, recruitment is probably something you want to go and keep very close to home. Why? Because you need the heads of departments or you need the end users. We call them end users. They're actually heads of departments, the people, the managers who are seeking to fill in the position, the hiring managers. You need those hiring managers to go and write the accurate job description for you. You cannot really rely on someone else who doesn't know the ins and outs and the needs of the department to go and fill in the job description for you. What will happen is they'll go online and they'll look at a similar company and they'll go and copy paste that job description, and it really is not a good fit. You will find candidates who are not a good fit, or you'll find good candidates but they won't stay with you for very long because the job description was not accurate in the first place. So for recruitment, I would prefer or I would recommend that you go and keep it close to home. Work more closely with your heads of departments, with the hiring managers, because they are the ones who really know what they need. And so training for writing job descriptions, that's where it will come in handy. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So he follows up with a question also, he's recently taken on the director role and is building teams. What advice can you give him in terms of his recruitment process? Or rather, let's simplify it. What are your key processes when it comes to recruitment in a simple, straightforward manner.
All right, so now thank you, Trader Rob, for that question, and thank you, Ching Yu, for verbalizing it. All right, now first things first, write better job descriptions, write better advertisements. So that is a low-hanging fruit which we can all easily adopt. Have a more in-depth discussion with the hiring manager as to what they really need. Then imagine what type of person you would like to employ. What values would they have? Are their values aligned? And then you can go and write a better job description. All right, so now let's assume that the job description part, the advertisement part is perfectly fine. Now, the biggest key over here is the interviewer skills, yeah, not interview skills. The skills you need to have as an interviewer. Because, all right, as it turns out, a resume or a CV is a horrible predictor of success. I'm going to repeat that again, yeah, okay? A resume or a CV, as it turns out, is a horrible predictor of future contribution and success. Essentially, by looking at a CV or resume, you have no idea whether or not this candidate will be able to perform in your company, whether or not they're overpromising, or whether or not their past performance means anything at all. It is a horrible predictor. Now, what is a great predictor is something we call competency and behavioral based interviewing skills in interview questions. So now, essentially, what is CBI? CBI is competency and behavioral interview questions. Yeah, you put your candidates, your interview candidates, your potential hires through a role play exercise. For example, if the role you're looking for requires someone with great communication skills, so you put them in a role play exercise. You say, "Hey, Ching Yu, according to your resume, you say that you have great conversation skills, all right, or you have great conflict resolution skills." Let's use conflict resolution, something we all easily understand, all right? So, and that's great because in a role in this position of a customer service representative, you will need to go and resolve conflict every day. So this is what we like to hear. Can you describe a time where you use your effective conflict resolution skills to diffuse a tense situation? Now, guess what? No matter how much they write about in their resume on CV, if what they're writing about is untrue or fabricated, they will not be able to answer this question. They will not be able to answer this question, no matter how impressive their resume is. So now, if they have successfully resolved conflict in the past, then they will be able to go and answer this question in a satisfactory manner. If they have not, and they need to go and make up something on the spot, you will be able to go and see from their body language, from the hesitancy in their language, yeah, from their eyes, for example, and you know that perhaps this candidate is not for you. Mm.
Wow, wow, very very powerful tools indeed, and I think it's adding that layer of verification that I think a lot of interviewers may not have that skill. Yeah, they just go through the CV and then say, okay, you look like you tick the boxes, and so on that point, sometimes companies are desperate for hires, right? And then sometimes all they can do is like, okay, you tick the boxes, you're on board. Would you recommend like companies in those positions to use that strategy, or to actually still consider, take their time and actually uh go through the whole process of verification and still be picky?
All right. So now over here, Chingyu, that's a great question. And I will absolutely agree with you, and it definitely resonates, is that talent is in short supply nowadays. Desirable talent is in short supply nowadays because it is really an employee's market at the moment. A bit tough. It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, but that's a reality. Everyone is grabbing or looking for the same few desirable talent. And like you say, right, when international markets have cross-border business is very, very easily facilitated nowadays, and with the economy reopening and all, desirable talent is in definitely short supply. So now you might be tempted to accept someone who is a bit more subpar just to go and fill that position at the point of time. Now, this is not a straightforward question to answer. I would heavily recommend companies in this position to do a cost benefit analysis. If I do not fill this position now, what is my loss, both financial as well as on the softer side of things, right? Some of the soft losses which you can't see on paper, right? Must I fill this position now? If it is a must, then you might be willing to go and take on someone who is a bit more subpar and train that person. There are a lot of hidden costs, of course, because you take time to train this person, right? There's going to be a build up, and this person may leave and transfer all that knowledge which you have so hard, so painfully passed on to him, right? And they might just go and bring it to a competitor. Now, having said that, in the majority of cases, I would advise that companies slow down and take their time until they go and locate a more suitable candidate, because hiring the wrong person is much more devastating and demoralizing than not filling that position most of the time.
Yep. So definitely, it's again having that bigger picture of what's the cost benefit analysis, having a framework, right, to make that decision and weighing all of the pros and cons. And so, with your years of experience through corporate, right? So other than offering training in terms of retaining talents. What other services or topics do you cover as well to train people up on?
I am very, very passionate about parenting. That's what I used to train in the past. But of course, other topics which I'm really, really passionate in are leadership skills. Situational leadership is something which I'm really, really, really love to go and teach. Communication skills, because I really, really believe that leaders have to understand that there are many different people out there. Not everyone is the same as us, and the ways they prefer to receive communication may be different from the ways we prefer to give communication. There's something called the love languages, and there's something called different pain points as well. Different people have different love languages. Different people have different pain points. And there's a tool called DISC, right? Many of you already know it, or for the four temperaments, or the more advanced one would be Myers-Briggs, which postulate that there are many, many different personality types. Each one of these personality types require different methods of communication. So now it is my mission, and it is indeed my passion to go and help people understand that there are different people besides us. Yeah, right. Different people prefer to receive communication in different ways, and I think that this is something which is absolutely essential for us to understand. As a barrister, we are trained in body language, we're trained in understanding human behavior, we're trained in persuasion and negotiation. So these are the things which I really would like would like more business owners and leaders to understand. These are some of the values I bring to the table.
Oh, wonderful. And then, yeah, circling back to what Karen Allen said, great points, works well in parenting. Previously in our introduction, we did say that, you're parent of two beautiful sons. How has parenting um, taught you through this journey and, shaped you to who you are today, to what you are sharing to others?
Wow, thank you so much, Ching Yu. I actually have a 1 hour talk called Three Crucial Leadership Skills I Learned Through My Boo Boos as a Single Dad. So yep, I'm a single dad, right? I take care of my two kids. And let me tell you, Ching Yu, I've made so many mistakes as a parent. But that's fine, yeah, because we learn from the mistakes, and instead of dwelling on the mistakes, let's focus on how we can do better. Now, that is a very humorous 1 hour talk, and in that humorous 1 hour talk, I talk about three crucial leadership skills which I've learned from my mistakes as a parent. I think the three of them are: first one is, different people prefer to receive communication different ways, right? Different people like praise and consequences in different ways. And the last one is fix the mistake before doing a post-mortem. So these are the top three which I learned from parenting.
Oh, wow. And would you say that as a parent, it has really trained you to become a lot more patient in
Oh
general?
yes. Oh yes, absolutely. Patience is one thing, acceptance is another. Right. So a
Mm,
lot of people say that, hey, you need to go and tolerate a lot of things as a leader, as a parent, as a spouse, as a son or a daughter. Well, I prefer the word acceptance. Right. Once you accept that different people are different, they are different people from you. Right. Then suddenly a lot of things become very easy to swallow, and your whole life becomes a lot more, a lot more easy. Things flow easier into your life when you start to accept that different people are different.
mhm. And I think, yeah, I think you hit on a very important point. We always hear about the word about, oh, we've got to tolerate one another, and then there's still the underlying tension that we are tolerating, and then up to a certain point it just breaks, and then you come to that level of acceptance, and then some people cannot accept acceptance because in their mind they think that, oh, but I'm running an organization. If I accept them for who they are, how can I make them change to where I need to go? How do you balance that thought?
Well, that's an absolutely great question. So first things first, if your hire or if your employee is not aligned to the values of your organization, then they are not going to give it their best in the long term. All right? If they are not aligned, if they do not believe in the same things, then they would not be desirable talent. Retention is not about keeping everyone in your company. Retention is about keeping desirable talent, right? A lot of effort is spent on keeping people, but there are costs to keeping the wrong people in your company.
Mm,
Demoralization, right? Other team members will be demotivated. Why is this person here? He doesn't believe in the same things as we do. We are often doing his work for him. We are often covering up his mistakes for him or her. There is a cost to keeping the wrong people. So first things first, if your employee does not resonate with the values you have and you're already doing your best in communicating those values, in culturing a safe environment, in culturing a good environment for people to grow, and they just don't believe in the same things as you do, then it might be futile to try to change them. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is this, yeah, okay. It's really, really, really hard to change people. It's really hard to change people. You can persuade them, you can influence them, but it's really hard to change people. The best thing you can do as a leader is to lead by example. If you're trying to change someone, and if you yourself do not embody those virtues, or if you are not walking the talk, then it's really hard to be convincing. Yeah. So I would suggest to be the change you want to see. That would go a long way. You would attract the correct people to stay in that situation as well.
wonderful. Yeah. So it's being able to balance that acceptance of who people are. You influence what you can, but ultimately you have to set that example as a leader, to be the best version of yourself and what you want to see in your organization. And I see Karen Allen sharing, accept the reality that your kids are not you. uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, very, very important. And then we'll just take one last question. Of course, it's from Trader Rob, who's sharing with us. He wants to provide opportunities to low income and rural areas that have diminished education. How can he best cultivate his employees who are filling no experience necessary roles?
All right, so now thank you, Trader Rob. So now over here, all right, we are talking about leadership, and I'll fall back on my favorite leadership framework, yeah, situational leadership. For employees who have no experience necessary, who are filling in no experience necessary roles, these will be employees who have low competency. I'm going to make an assumption over here, yeah. You will have to go and assess them on an individual basis, but usually these employees have low competency and high motivation. What does this mean? Imagine a fresh graduate or someone who is new to this industry or is new to this task, right? Usually they'll come in with high spirits. They believe that this is an easy job. I can learn this quickly. I can change the world quickly. Um, I can I can fulfill my tasks and make my customers happy easily. So they are really motivated already. They're highly enthusiastic. But most of the time, you will realize that they have low competency. That means they're not very good in their technical and soft skills yet. So now, in this situation, we call these people enthusiastic beginners. Enthusiastic beginners. Now, the key to leading enthusiastic beginners well is to give them very, very clear and precise instructions. Don't assume that they know how to do things yet, but please be very, very careful in motivating them. Because if you were to go rah, rah, rah to someone who is already very enthusiastic, you risk them burning out, you risk them creating artificially high expectations of themselves, and they are going to crash and burn when they inevitably make mistakes. So the key here is to go and give very clear and precise instructions, manage their expectations, do not motivate them any more than is necessary, because otherwise they're going to get a lot of negative pressure. Be
Wow.
there to catch them when they inevitably make mistakes. Yep. So
Mm.
that's what I would suggest in this situation.
Wow. Wow. It's very interesting how you mentioned, not to give too much motivation until it turns into negative pressure, right?
Yeah.
Something to really think and ponder about. And so, could you share with us a recent success story in terms of, like, with the organizations that you've had the privilege of training up, what were some of the results that they have achieved, and what can organizations in general expect if they were to engage your services?
Wow. Okay. So now I have consulted and I've trained a lot of clients. But I think one of my favorite stories, I wouldn't say it's my biggest success. One of my favorite stories is a story of a retailer, one of the biggest retailers in Malaysia, where I really they had a retention problem as well. They had a retention problem as well. They were a great organization, and it is a brand name which is beloved by everyone in Malaysia, but they were not putting a lot of thought into their retention process, their hiring process, and they were not putting a lot of thought into the big why of their organization. So now over here, what I did was I had the opportunity to speak to their C-suite, to their directors, and I gave them some trainings, and I really made them understand the importance of having a core purpose and having a vision which is resonates not just with their customers but with their internal employees as well. And this really, really blew their minds. They decided to make some systematic changes on how they communicate with their employees, and definitely this is one of my favorite experiences. So as a result, they can go and keep their employees a bit better. Everyone is very motivated. Everyone understands that, hey, the mission over here is not just to drive profits, it is going to provide feelings of security, peace of mind, of love and care to all our millions of customers across the nation. And yeah, this was one of my favorite examples of a change which I managed to bring about as a result of the work I do. Very proud of them and very proud of myself as well for that one.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, you're truly changing the landscape of how corporations, how leaders conduct business in our world today. So it's a privilege to really be able to have you on our show. As we see, Trader Rob says, "Wow, that just blew my mind." Explains so much of his past relationships with his former employees, and thank you so much for all of this. And then John Chong, our founder, of course, says, thank you, Teacher Kean, and myself. Thank you, John, for joining us. And yeah, definitely, if you're interested in engaging in Teacher Kian's services, do feel free to reach out to us at SpeakersLive at summitspeakerbureau.com. It's SpeakersLive at summitspeakerbureau.com. Just type in the subject line Teacher Kian. Of course, you can also find Teacher Kian on his LinkedIn with his name, Teacher Kian. He is also, I see that he's also very active on Facebook as well. You can find him on Facebook, Teacher Kian. Yeah, so definitely thank you very much, Teacher Kian, for joining us throughout this session, dropping knowledge bombs and really coming from the heart. I think that's most important, and you truly lead by example. So thank you very much, Teacher Kian, and to all of you who are joining us live or watching us on this replay. As we can see, that's a Karen Allen, great insights. Thank you for joining us, and do remember to like and subscribe at Summit Speaker. We are live every Thursday at 9 p.m. GMT plus 8. So, with that, I'd like to thank all of you. And once again, thank you very much, Teacher Kean, and goodbye for now.